Nope is directed by Jordan Peele and stars David Kaluuya, Kiki Palmer, Stephen Yen, Keith David, and a few others. And it tells the story of a family living on an isolated horse training farm. Their lives are pretty standard until they become witness to an unprecedented and chilling event. With the hopes of recording it, they set up camera equipment, but soon discover that what they think is a UFO might be so much more. So I know this one is very late. I've been so busy with other things, guys, and this is a one-woman show. I mean, there's only so much hours in a day, but I decided better late than never. Let me get it out there. I did do a short review on Reels, TikTok, and I posted it on YouTube's Reels, so you could find it there maybe. But I decided I needed to talk about this in a bit more detail. So Jordan Peele's Nope, and of course, with Get Out, Get Out was such a massive hit for Peele. Every single movie he's put out ever after that, everybody wants to see it. Everybody wants to see what his brilliant mind has come up with next. So this time, I felt like, one, the trailer gave away too much. I really would have liked to go into this not knowing anything at all about it. So that trailer, to me, that second trailer gave away way too much. And so for anybody who's seen the trailer, and of course if you've seen the movie, you know that this time around the big bad is a UFO. It's not duplicates of us living underground. It's not crazy white people, it's UFOs. And yeah, that's what I'm calling it. I'm not calling it UP whatever else that is. That's just ridiculous. So the good, let's get into it immediately with the positives. And I would say this is definitely Peele's, it feels like his biggest film to date. And by that I mean the cinematic scope, the cinematography, all of that behind this movie. I believe it was shot with IMAX cameras, and I did get to see it in IMAX, and I was really impressed with how massive this movie feels. It doesn't even feel like what you would expect a typical horror movie to feel like. It feels like Jaws. It feels like the first ever summer blockbuster. That massive scale, even though it is this chilling story, it's supposed to be a scary story, so to speak. It's done in this way that feels like you're supposed to be watching like King Kong or Pacific Rim. It wide open shots, and this is massive location of this open range, so you could really get an idea of the scope and size of this UFO against the people who are trying to capture it on film. And it's amazing. I'm sure there's something there deeper, the whole metaphor, the whole cinematic process of making a movie and trying to capture that white whale, so to speak. But yeah, the movie visually, I was very impressed by this movie, with the exception of one thing that I'll get into later on. You can't fault the guy for his work in that field. It just visually, this movie is epic. It is meant to be seen on the largest screen you could find to really get that feel of how terrifying it would be to come across something like that in your backyard, so to speak. And of course we also have the actors here. David Kaluuya returning. Of course, he was in Get Out, and now we have the addition of Kiki Palmer. We do have Keith David for a little while in the opening. He plays their father, the incredible, iconic, the man, the voice, the legend, Keith David, who I absolutely love. And we have The Walking Dead, Stephen Yen. So the thing about this movie is that there are not a lot of players. This is like, Jaws had a lot of, Jaws had its core cast, and I'm going to be comparing this movie to Jaws a lot, guys, because I sat there and I kept thinking, this movie is so much like Jaws. Not that it's ripping it off or it's trying to be, but I could see the inspiration there. Yeah, so you have this main core cast, but unlike Jaws that had all these massive set of extras, it's just these people. It's stripped down to these core people. You have newcomer, I think Brandon, something is his name. I'll check it for you guys. He plays the guy who works in the kind of Best Buy place, and he sets up the cameras for them. He is definitely the Richard Dreyfuss type character here from Jaws, where he's the one who kind of knows about aliens and UFOs and that sort of thing. You know, he has that knowledge. And so everybody here, I felt definitely the acting is exceptionally solid here, especially by Kiki Palmer. She just nails that entire big personality that she brings to the scenes, and her relationship with David Kaluuya. I mean, if you have siblings, especially if you're at that adult stage and you have siblings, you know, as grown-ups, I think you definitely will feel that sibling bond between the two of them. It does come across very realistic, very grounded, very natural, you know. So yeah, she was amazing. The cast was good. Steven was underused, but I mean, he did what he had to do. He would give off this mysterious, almost a bit of a creepy vibe. You know, he does, not creepy mightn't be the word I'm looking for, but he does feel a bit unhinged, and I think that works well for what he was doing. I'll get back to that to him in my negatives, but I will say it's not the actor. I felt like all the actors did really great work here and made their roles memorable, whether those roles were from beginning to end or halfway, you know, just showing up in the first half. They all made an impact. So, you know, good stuff there all around. And of course, the score of this film, I mean, when you consider what it is, you know, it everything works really, really well. The sound design in this is so damn good. I mean, the scenes like the barn scene, everybody will know what I'm talking about, you know, and I'm sure I've seen some people compare it to Signs, and it does have a bit of that vibe from Shyamalan's Signs. Yes, so I could see that, but the sound design here definitely is one of the strongest aspects. You know, it works so well with the visuals in creating that sense of foreboding, that chill, you know, that chill factor, that creep factor. So yeah, I mean, they definitely, all that stuff is very cohesive and works really well together. And as a whole, you can't say Nope is a bad film. You really can't. This is a expertly crafted movie from a visual and cinematic level, you know, and of course the acting, the performances. This film is, you know, I don't have any issues with that. Where this movie starts to fall into my negative territory for me would be the overall story. Now, here's the thing. Like I said, I did compare it to Jaws, and I like that stuff. I actually do like the UFO. Feels like it's hunting them. It's taking this stuff with them, trying to capture it on film. Personally, there's a reason it attacks the way it does, which I won't give away. And it does feel very predatory. It does feel there's a point where they're trapped inside the house, and this thing, it feels vicious. It feels even petty in that moment. So it has a lot of personality to that, and that's the strongest aspects of the story for me. Where this movie doesn't quite work the way I think it was meant to, was this never felt like a horror movie to me. This felt like a sci-fi thriller. You know, I know they're going for horror. Maybe for all I know, maybe Peele was going for more sci-fi thriller than horror, and everybody's just assuming it's horror because of his previous work. But this movie was never scary to me. There's not one moment of this movie where I was on the edge of my seat with fear like that. It was creepy in certain places, the barn scene, the house scene. It could be quite chilling in certain places, especially when things get like just dead quiet and they remove all the sound from a scene and you don't know where the UFO is. That stuff works so well. But was it scary? No, I don't think this movie is scary. I don't see why this movie is being considered a horror. And there's some terrifying things happening, but horrific? Not what I would call horrific. I mean, to each his own, but it just didn't work like that for me. Stephen Yen, he plays a character. I think he's called Jupiter, or Jupe for short. And the character, he was a child actor, and something really horrific. I mean, that might be the most horrifying thing in this entire movie for me. Something really horrifying happened to him on set as a child. And then we have now where he's all grown up, and you feel a sense of there's something wrong with this guy. There's something off with this guy. You know, he stares into space for long periods of time. He has a museum dedicated to the horrible thing that happened to him, which means is you really have some trauma you need to work through. And they build it up in this really interesting way, but then they don't go anywhere with it. They don't do anything with it. It comes to such an abrupt halt midway through, because something is revealed about him and his family, and they have this theme park and what's been going on in that theme park. And by the way, you can pretty much tell that stuff is, I think, felt a bit I don't want to say it was obvious from the word go. It wasn't, but it did get predictable to that, to up to a certain point. You were like, you know what, I know what's happening here. I know what's going on at this theme park. At least I figured it out, and I think a lot of other people will too. But when that reveal comes, it's also anticlimactic. It ends so quickly. I thought this guy was gonna have like a major involvement in what goes down in this movie. The way they build up his entire backstory. As a matter of fact, he gets more backstory than the main characters in this movie. You know, we know about their family, their family, the oldest Hollywood horse training family, and they also, you know, it's quite rare because they're also a black family. But his story is built up so much that I thought it was going to have a major aspect, you know, a major effect on what was coming later, and it doesn't, you know. And there's something to be said there about what he went through, and maybe he started seeing this predatory alien UFO as almost like godlike creature, you know, because sometimes when people survive really horrific accidents, and you know, yes, hi, sorry, my kitty, yeah, they tend to think of themselves, you know, either they feel a lot of guilt or they feel godlike, you know, they feel like there's something extraordinary happened and they were chosen, right? So I feel like maybe that's what they were going for, but they, you know, they spun it on its head. The entire thing was anticlimactic, you know. It didn't work for me. It felt like one of the biggest flaws in the movie. So that said, guys, the other negative for me was the ending of this film. It's a strong ending, but the reveal, the design. Yes, say hi. Come. Say hello. Say hi. Hi. Say I'm being very naughty. Yes. The reveal of the, I'm getting into spoiler territory here, the UFO, a certain design choices. Let's just say it was a bit ridiculous. My friend and I who watched this movie, we sat there and we were laughing, you know, and that's not the reaction you want to get out of your audience. I won't say more. I would spoil it if I say more. So if you haven't seen this movie yet, let me know how you felt when you saw the full reveal of the UFO, so to speak, you know. I'll just say curtains blowing in the wind, and I'll leave it at that. Guys, overall, Nope, it's not a bad film. It's not even close to being a bad film. There's so much beauty here to appreciate, so much in the performances, in the visuals, in the score. You know, it really, and the story itself is an intriguing way to spin the whole premise of Predator and Prey. But as a horror movie, no, I'm sorry. I would put The Black Phone over this for something more chilling, and something where the writing just feels, you know, so tight and so well done. But did I enjoy it? Yes. Do I think it's a horror movie? No. And if I'm taking away points for that, if you're representing yourself as a horror film, um, I'm gonna have to give Nope like a 7 out of 10. You know, it's no, like I said, it's in no way a bad film, but it's not what I thought it was gonna be. You know, and sometimes that's a good thing. In this case, it was a bit of a disappointing thing. And that's going to be it for this one, guys. So I wanted to get all that off my chest, and it's hard to say that in a 3-minute TikTok video. If you liked this video, please feel free to give it that thumbs up. It's always appreciated. If you're new here and you'd like to subscribe to my channel, you can click on my face when it pops up right about there. And you can check out past videos if you've got the time. So let me go and feed this little bugger, and until the next one, guys. Bye-bye.